Well, hey everyone, so happy to be here, and we're very excited about spring and the time for the wood element. I'm so happy to be here with Wendy, Judy, Lisa, Dolphin, and Tim as we share with you a little bit about the season, some of the wonderful Sunrider foods and table foods that are associated with the season, and share with you just a little bit about springtime and what it means to be here in the time of the wood element. Before we do that, if I can control my, sorry. I can't obviously control my little advancement here. Let me come back a little bit. We are going to be talking some about Sunrider foods today. So as we always do, I just want to remind everybody that none of the information provided in this presentation is intended to represent a diagnosis or cure of any illness or disease. Quickly, a little bit about Sunrider, just for anybody new watching this presentation. Sunrider's been around for over 40 years, which is exceptional in this industry where companies tend to come and go overnight. Sunrider operates in over 50 countries around the world, allowing us all an international business opportunity if we so choose. More so important than anything else, in my opinion, is Sunrider internally handles all the research, development, and manufacturing of their products. That is extremely unusual in this industry, where most companies simply hand off a recipe to a third party and say, go make my products for me. Again, I'm going to repeat this. Sunrider internally handles all the research, development, and manufacturing of over 400 of the world's finest health, beauty, and wellness products. Everything from whole food nutritionals to cleansing beverages to weight management, sports and fitness, green household, and all natural skincare and cosmetics. Now, one of the things that turns me on the most about Sunrider and the fact that they do that is the way that they do it. And what I mean by that is they produce everything under what we call our philosophy of regeneration. And there's many definitions of our philosophy of regeneration, but for me, most simply, it's always meant that if we feed and nourish our body with the right combination of whole food nutrients and cleansing beverages, our bodies won't just be healthy and in balance, but they will actually repair, renew, and regenerate the way we were naturally designed to. With that, let's get into the season. I'm going to turn this over to Judy. Judy, would you take a minute and kind of talk to us a little bit about 5 elements in traditional Chinese medicine, and in particular, how the wood element plays into this particular season?
Wow, me again. So here it goes. That's a tall order, Mac, but I'll do my best. So can you feel it? Spring is in the air. The very nature of the season evokes excitement, some energy, movement. And perhaps in your area, you haven't felt it quite yet, but we've definitely felt it here with a lot of blossoms and everything, coming forth, breaking through the earth. All the spring, the nature with its blossoms, the greenery coming forth. However, it's not immediate, as we know. We had some nice warm days followed by some cool ones. So spring is, again, exactly as its name says, a spring. One day it's warm, next day it's cool. So we see the need to give particular attention to this season, not only for enjoyment, but for navigating through it and coming out successful at the other end. We can flourish in the season if we have new growth in our lives, relationships, and work. So that's the good news, just like the earth. So always look to nature and then apply it to our everyday life. And we'll see what's happening, what should be happening, and we can learn from it. The wood element refers to growing structures, the roots, trunk, and the limbs of trees and plants. But in the human, same thing, basically. The spine, the limbs, or the arms and legs, of course, and the joints. And so a wood imbalance can result in spinal problems, poor flexibility, or a weak rootedness. Now, we all might have our own definition of that, but in a particular individual. But in the Chinese system, also arthritis is viewed as a wood problem. So the color, guess what, is green for spring. The organs, of course, are liver and gallbladder. Liver being the solid organ, gallbladder being the hollow one. And mentally, it is, because spring is new beginnings, almost birth in essence. So mentally, it's the idea, a new idea. So that's kind of interesting. But an imbalance in the wood element could result in poor judgment, lack of planning, organization. Yikes, bring on the alpha. and then just the opposite in the imbalance could be over organizing, controlling, can't relax, can't enjoy the moment. So having to have everything a finite way. So either extreme isn't right. We want some of both. And so another aspect is east is the direction. It's where the sun rises. And the climate for spring is influenced by wind. And I think we're going to hear more about that later. But it's really interesting because what does wind do? If it's not secured or if it's dried or it's old, it usually blows away, right? And brings in the new. And so, but if we overreact to wind, it can show an imbalance. And also for some of us, wind brings in pollen and creates the allergies. So see, wind is very influenced and has a lot to do with our liver. And let me see, there's some more elements here we might want to address, but and the emotion is anger, and we're going to hear more about that. But Mac, if we could flip back just for a second, I want to point out something here. Absolutely. Back on my wheel. Okay, so I found this interesting because the as you notice on the wheel, it goes a direction, keeps spinning. But you notice some things have an influence on others. And if we look back to the metal element, which was the end of the fall, the emotion was grief. So if we didn't address our grief in back in that season, or grief is grief. We all have to deal with it in our own way. However, we're always seeking balance, but grief can then be suppressed into the anger. So we need to also look at this wheel and see which season directly affects that. And it might give us some ideas on how to help bring balance to that area that we're looking at. And I know Tim does a great job on this. And so Tim, can you share some more on the emotions of this time of year?
I can. Nice job, sister. Yes, we can. Anger is the prominent emotion of spring, and of course, the liver is being affected. And not that it's the prominent emotion; it just happens to be the correlating emotion that goes with the liver. And for those of us, and thank you, Judy, for mentioning those imbalances. And one of the things about anger, not that it's all bad, it's just for us to be aware of it. And it's kind of like a light on a dashboard. It's like if the oil light goes off in your dashboard, you're supposed to stop the car and take inventory. And we can do the same thing with ourselves. And there's some things we can do, but like liver season tends to be, or spring tends to be a time where we're maybe a little more sensitive as a result of the hormonal situations that are changing and shifting within ourselves. And with that sensitivity, and a recognition that we may find ourselves being sensitive or angry, for that matter, is again, first things first, not to diss that anger, but to think of it with no judgment. Is that it's hard to do in the midst of being angry. But once we recognize we're angry, we recognize it as a feeling we don't like, we don't enjoy. And there's some things we can do. It's like I like to throw thank you somewhere in the middle of my anger, and it tends to stop it cold, and makes me remember to maybe breathe, take a nice full breath, reassess the situation. There's a good reason I might be feeling angry. We may be feeling angry, and we can do something about it. And so I like to take some nice, slow, deep breaths and just be with that feeling for a little while, so that I can transform it or transmutate it into a better feeling, which is that of gratitude, appreciation, or grateful that I knew I was out of balance. And that's the main thing. It's just recognizing when we're in and out of balance for any emotion that we have. I like using a little quote that helps me so much from Greg Braden, is that your feelings are God's prayer to you. And if we can listen to our feelings and take them as a message from divine consciousness, for that matter, and whether it's real or not real, I like to think that it's real for me personally, and it helps me to interrupt my own distress pattern so that I can start to smooth it out and create balance within myself. And the other thing I do, once I recognize, hey, there's something I can do, I'm feeling out of sorts, I can drink some water, I can take a deep breath, but I can also eat some really, really healthy foods that are going to help bring my wood element back into balance. And in this case, one of my favorite foods is New Plus. And Finn, I know, is going to talk a little bit about the wood element and how it correlates with New Plus and how that can help us out as well. So deep breathing, mindful, don't diss your anger. It's something to be appreciated, maybe not celebrated, but at least appreciated, so that we can get out of our disharmony and bring ourselves back into harmony. Finn, bring us on some New Plus and maybe some yummy ways we can enjoy that.
That's awesome, Tim. Thank you. And yeah, and happy equinox, everyone. Actually, today is the first day of spring. We actually nailed it right on the day. It's awesome. So yeah, I wanted to just highlight one of our Sunrider foods today, and we're going to talk about more, but there's just really something very special about New Plus. And when we think about spring, as Judy mentioned, it's a time of cool, wet weather interspersed with sunny, refreshing days. And, you know, the saying, spring showers bring May flowers. And so the weather is, especially here in Canada, it can be really up and down, where we can still get some cold days and then, you know, get some sunny bursts. Days are getting longer, but that spring air is filled with moisture. And that humidity in the air is absorbed into our bodies. So no matter what body type you are, whether you're hot, you're cold, you're neutral, we will experience dampness, which causes the yang energy in our bodies to be trapped inside and unable to circulate. So then this can lead to imbalances, whether it's physical, like discomfort, you know, on a physical level, and then the emotional level. So sometimes we might have that imbalance in our emotions, feeling really angry because of this trapped energy that is in correlation with this dampness. And this can be particularly true for people who have a weaker immune system or for people who are overweight. So just something to be mindful about. But we all experience dampness during this season, and it gets trapped in our bodies for various reasons. So the first one is going to definitely be our diet. So we want to be more mindful this time of year about how much things like fried foods or fatty foods, which of course puts a little extra strain on our liver. And that can also, again, our body, it traps that dampness. Processed sugars, alcohol, again, those really put a strain on the liver gallbladder system. So in our diet. And then the second thing, which I know we're going to talk about later, is lack of exercise. So not getting that energy moving, it gets trapped and stagnant in the body. So how do we know if we have excess dampness? Well, the first clue is mucus. So especially in that respiratory system, if we have a runny nose, phlegm in the throat, like definitely this time of year, I catch myself clearing my throat more. People, you know, have like kind of like a wetter cough, you know, and just bringing stuff up. And then on the digestion side, yeast. So if we have an overgrowth of yeast, again, that's a very mucousy kind of damp condition. So, and then of course, any kind of decrease in our immune system will, again, just shows that stagnation that traps that dampness in our body. And this dampness is also is a Chinese medical term. So it's not just literally about, you know, water trapped in our body. It's more of a condition. So one of the best foods to completely nourish our body and particularly to decrease dampness is New Plus. And that's why I wanted to focus a little bit of extra on that, on this product today. This ancient formula, and I love the new packaging that we have, so slim and easy to carry with us. It's just fantastic. It looks great. And And this ancient formula was called angel's porridge in traditional Chinese medicine for very good reason, that it was considered a healing herbal soup and was just whole body nourishment. So what I love is that I don't have to go and find, these ingredients that can be difficult to find in a grocery store. You typically would have to go to find a Chinese market. You don't know what the quality is and how clean it is. And then you have to know how to boil it up, and it takes time. New Plus, man, it's just Dr. Chen, our owner's expertise. They've done it for us. And so it just makes it so simple for anyone, and just so easy for anybody to use, and anybody from babies, athletes, the elderly. It is just one of these simple foods that is so nourishing, but anyone can enjoy it. So I just want to quickly highlight 3 of the key ingredients that particularly relate to this idea of dampness. And the first one is the Chinese yam. And this is not to be confused with Mexican yam. Chinese yam is a very different plant. And I think you can see it at the top of, in the top right, the top left corner, right at the bottom underneath that big green looking plant is the Chinese yam, that tubular root. And it does nourish our endocrine system, which is fabulous, but it also nourishes our connective tissue. So that is part of the liver, the element, the wood element is all of our connective tissue. So our ligaments, our tendons, our joints. And so this really helps to nourish and rebuild that building block in our body. It nourishes the spleen, stomach, and restores or tonifies the kidneys and the lungs. Then the second one is koi seed or koi seed. And that can be found in, again, that same photo up on the top of the corner there in those little cups. And koi seed is amazing for clearing dampness. So it definitely strengthens our spleen and our stomach and our lungs. It's an astringent herb. And so that means astringent herbs are things that dry or draw out or shrink the tissue. So this really helps to create that shrinkage and that barrier so that we have more protection in our body. And typically, I know we're going to talk about some bitter herbs, and typically bitter herbs are also astringent. So having that drying and detoxifying aspect. And then the lotus seed and lotus root, that's in the bottom of the left bottom. And that is also, it nourishes the heart, strengthens the kidneys, tonifies the spleen, and controls the intestines. But again, an extremely drying herb, meaning that it helps the body move that dampness. I don't mean it's like going to make your mouth dry or anything like that. It's just about finding that balance in the body of almost like a sponge, just soaking up that extra dampness, especially in the form of like dampness in the body. It gets that thick kind of viscousy kind of texture in the body. So we want to get rid of that excess. We need some of that in our body, but we don't want the excess. So that's a quick short tutorial on Chinese herbs and why New Plus is such a perfect superfood for anyone and any season. And now I know we're going to delve into some other awesome Sunrider foods for the spring season. And Wendy, let's hand it over to you for that.
Okay, well, thank you, Dolphin. And so we're going to start first, and I'm going to talk about Quinary. And it's a very convenient, complex blend of nearly 50 Chinese herbs. It's designed to balance your body's 5 major systems all in one capsule or powder. What better thing to bring along? Balance and fuel all your systems and just see what your body gives you back in the way of high performance, weight management, regularity, good mood, and clear skin. So The quinary, qui stands for 5, the 5 systems, and they also come in separate bottles. If you think of the acronym CIDER, CIDER, then C is the circulatory system, and that's life stream for the water element, for the kidneys and bladder. I, the immune system, that's alpha 20C. D is the digestive, that's assimilate, and it's important to open the capsules because digestion starts in the mouth. E is the endocrine system, and that's prime again. If you're that feeds the glands, and if your glands aren't working, probably nothing is working. So it's important. Then you have R for the respiratory system, and that's conco and helps also the lymphatics. So if you think of the 5 horses that pull a chariot, they need to be positioned appropriately to support each other and to be fed accordingly. So perhaps even feeding more of the weakest one. And that's the beauty of the quinary philosophy. Then we have alpha 20C that's especially represented in the wood element, as was already discussed. And it's associated with the liver, and it's characteristic of ambition and courage and resourcefulness. A wood imbalance can cause you to feel aggressive and impulsive. And alpha 20C helps bring your wood element into balance. So with special focus on the liver, this formula is an excellent source of antioxidants supporting the immune system with superior absorption. Now, alpha 20C is not vitamin C. It's a T cell formula, and where your white blood cells find and fight green germs and infections in your body. How important to support this function. It's available in the United States in the 30 count box, and each packet is equivalent to 10 capsules. So especially in the spring, we want to eat our alpha 20C. Then we have a super drink, Fortune Delight. It's a delicious, highly concentrated herbal blend that cleanses and nourishes and balances our body with vital nutrients and antioxidants. There's no sugar, virtually no caffeine, and yet it's 4 times more concentrated than traditional green teas. It not only has no fat or preservatives or artificial sweeteners, but it actually flushes fat out of the body and improves your mood. In fact, it's hard to drink Fortune Delight without smiling. And it comes in different flavors, original, peach, and raspberry. So we want to keep checking home.sunrider.com featured products so you can snag it as soon as it's available again, because it's coming. Fortune Delight is coming really, really soon. However, right now, we do have delicious Cali cinnamon and Cali mint available. And I just wanted to mention that I hadn't experienced Cali mint in years and years. But then when we started having the shortages and I got some, I couldn't believe what an improvement it has made for me. For example, I'm noticing that my eyesight is improved. I can read my phone without putting my glasses on. And I've just been having really good success with my sinuses, with them draining better, with my allergies and my energy. So, and it tastes wonderful. So I hope you will give Cali Mint especially a try. And I like to also put my alpha 20C in with it. So I hope you'll love it too. So Lisa, could you tell us more about Cali and some of the other products?
Yes, thank you, Wendy. You did a good job. Cali is a very special beverage, and Wendy mentioned mint. The mint flavor is especially good for the sinuses. The cinnamon is especially good for digestion, and then there's the regular Cali. Cali is an alkaline beverage, and alkalinity supports the body in every way. And Cali actually is very special because Cali is a food that is sprayed onto tea leaves. And when you drop the tea bag into the hot water, the food falls off into the water. And so you don't want to reuse and reuse that tea bag because the food has come off into the water. It's highly nutritious. And what it does is it nourishes your own cleansing system. So we have systems in place that are cleansing, and a cleansing body is a healthier body. But what we don't want to do is do laxatives and diuretics to cleanse. We want our own kidneys, our liver, our skin to cleanse. And so the Cali supports that. And so if we drink it throughout the day, it's an ongoing cleansing of our body. And some of the things that the Cali does is it cleanses heavy metals and radiation. And I got to say, for me personally, I had gone to a doctor and been tested, and I was tested high in metals and in radiation. I'd been a dental assistant and exposed to a lot of radiation when I was young, and they could not get my levels down. And when I started drinking Cali, about a year later, I went back and got tested, and there was no high level of heavy metals or radiation. So that was thrilling for me. Also, it helps to get rid of any residue of any, I'm going to just call it junk in the tissues, because our bodies oftentimes can't eliminate these things and they'll be stored. So nicotine and caffeine is one of the things that Cali helps to get rid of. I have a friend who lived and worked in an environment where there was no smoking, and she had smoked 17 years before she started drinking Cali. She called me and said, my sheets are brown when I wake up in the morning. She said, it stinks like cigarettes. So she was just thrilled because she knew I had explained how it worked, and she knew that's what was happening. So that is really powerful for people who have smoked in the past. Also, it helps to get rid of uric and lactic acids and free radicals. And that's our drink, Cali, and that's just the beginning of all the benefits when our body's clean properly. Next is Evergreen, and Evergreen is a chlorophyll beverage, and they call chlorophyll the lifeblood of the plant. And I remember when I first heard about the Evergreen, Dr. Chen developed it, and he made it more able to assimilate it, because when he bought out the company that he bought out to turn it into Sunrider, there was already a chlorophyll product, but he dropped that product and made his own because of the benefits of having a chlorophyll product. But one of the things he taught us was what ours does is that it goes in water soluble, but in the gut, it turns to oil soluble, so the body can actually absorb it better. So that was a powerful, thing that Chen knows how to do. He knows how to formulate to get the best benefit. Evergreen also oxygenates the blood, so it improves circulation and blood flow, and it increases the alkalinity in the body. It provides important trace minerals. It helps the kidneys and bladder to release uric and acid in urine. And it also is really good to drink first thing in the morning for the benefit of that. It also soothes nausea. And one of the things that I use Evergreen for is if I eat any sugar, I cramp in my feet and legs. And if I wake up in the night with a cramp, I will get up and drink an Evergreen, and it knocks it out right away. Another thing that people have used Evergreen for is when a baby's had a very high fever, it brings it right down to a normal fever where the body's fighting, but it's not too hot. And let's see. So next is Spirulina, one of my absolute favorite products. And after doing a little more reading about it for this part, it's even more important to me because of some things that I have issues with during this time of the springtime. And so it's a blue-green algae, high in chlorophyll, iron, and carotenoids, and other micronutrients. Sunrider's blue-green algae is cultivated in hygienic tanks and ponds under the latest scientific conditions. That is so important because I remember in Canada, Margaret Copey, who did a lot of energy work, and she was very well known for being a natural healer. She loved our spirulina. And the reason why is because of the way that they made it in the hygienic tanks and ponds. She's like, hygienic, you have to do it a certain way because otherwise you get it can take on contaminants and from its environment. And so one of the things that she said was people would come into her office and she would test them. And what she noticed is every time they had this particular parasite, she would say to them, are you using such and such blue-green algae? And they would say, yes. How did you know? And she said, because anytime somebody comes in here, this is the parasite that they are carrying because of the way that it's made. And so that made it so much more important why Chen does it the way he does it. Also, it's excellent for a weak digestive system and glandular, particularly thyroid needs. And it detoxifies the kidney and liver and builds and enriches the blood, cleanses the arteries, enhances intestinal flora, and inhibits the growth of fungus, bacteria, and yeast, which is very important because yeast is a big issue for people today to have candida. It's very, very high in protein and is said to be 300% more protein than fish, meat, or poultry without the cholesterol. And it's more energy boosting iron than spinach. So those are just some of the benefits of spirulina. So spirulina is available right now to purchase at Sunrider. So make sure you get some. Wendy?
Well, thank you, Lisa. That was so good, so interesting. Thank you. We're going to talk about foods now for the spring and element. And so what we're going to do is move from the roots to vegetables that grow above ground in the spring, and that's onions and radishes and the greens, asparagus and peas and artichokes, rhubarb, cherries, strawberries, apricots. And just to start it off, I wanted to mention about onions that they have lots of antioxidants. They help blood sugar, improve digestion. They're loaded with nutrients. And radishes is one that's interesting. Years ago, my natural doctor had told me to eat a lot of radishes, and they are rich in antioxidants and minerals like calcium and potassium, which helps lower blood pressure and reduce risk of heart attack. And it's a really good source of natural nitrates that improve blood flow. And of course, our salad greens are an excellent source of fiber and folate, that B vitamin that actually produces DNA, carotenoids, vitamin A, vitamin C, and they don't contain cholesterol. So don't spoil the benefits of your salad with a high cholesterol salad dressing. But maybe try lemon or apple cider vinegar. And did someone else want to comment on some of these?
I'll go ahead. So you'll notice here some sour foods. And as Judy had mentioned, sour is the flavor for the spring season. And so we want to definitely enjoy a lemon water, lime, or like Wendy said, apple cider vinegar. You can make a tonic out of those. Lemon water at room temperature, or just slightly warm water as the first thing to hit your stomach in the morning is just such a great liver, gentle liver wake up. However, if you tend to crave sour foods or eat sour foods in excess, things like I had a client, a very young client once, all she would eat was pickles. And so we discovered that she actually has an imbalance in her liver and kidney. So you don't want to go overboard on the sour, because then that also shows an imbalance. So we want to be careful, especially in this particular season, of, again, with moderation, enjoying the sour foods.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? If not, we'll move on. We'll move back to Matt.
Well, thank you. And it's funny with these calls. I always come into these kind of calls thinking I know a lot about a topic, you know, a little bit about traditional Chinese medicine, the elements and what's going on. I think I know a lot about the Sunrider foods, but then I listen to you guys and I'm blown away because it reminds me about so much great stuff. And I mean, even going back, I mean, what Judy was saying about the 5 elements, and Tim, how you covered the whole aspect of you know, the anger. And for me, I always find that's related typically back to a fear that I've had. But to your point, it's that recognition and then being able to deal with it within the season that's so critical. Dolphin New Plus is a favorite food of mine. And Lisa and Wendy, what you guys did in terms of explaining some of these Sunrider foods, just again, it blows me away. I consume all of them, but until I hear these things again from somebody else, I kind of forget how wonderful these foods truly are. And I mean, that's what it is about Sunrider. It's all whole food nutrition. These are foods, they're not chemicals. The formulation you guys talked about, the expertise of Dr. Chen and the concentration, the super concentration. We could never, I could never buy enough spinach to represent what I get out of spirulina or evergreen, you know, so it's just fabulous. And I guess the last thing I'd like to say about this slide is the fact that wherever you live in the United States, North America, around the world, focus on the things that are bountiful in your given area, because those are the foods you should be eating anyway. And I'm just excited about spring because we have so much to choose from. So thank you guys so much for that. I want to talk just for a minute as we come kind of to the end of our call here about some of the things that we want to encourage people to do during the season. For those of you that haven't spent much time on it yet, please let your upline know, let one of us know. We'll get you an invitation to our 5-element cycle to wellness private group Facebook page. That's where we're going to be posting regularly about the season, some of the foods, some of the things that we're doing, sharing with you guys insights and ideas about the season, traditional Chinese medicine, all of the things that we've talked about today. We're going to be sharing with you in more detail over these next couple of months. So I encourage you all to please join us within this Facebook group. Even if it's from an observer standpoint, that's fabulous. But if you have something that you want to offer about the season, if you see a post that resonates with you and you have a comment, something, please do that, because that's really what this is all about. I mean, we do this for ourselves, but we do it for all of you as well. So please come and join us. The idea of exercise came up in part of the discussion, and I just want to let everybody know that we are going to jump back into our walking program again. And we've done this periodically over the last couple of years. So I think most of us probably still have our walking tracking app on our cell phones. Make sure that thing's functioning. Start keeping track of your steps again. And really, it's going to be a collective thing. Report weekly or every couple of weeks to your upline, or send me a note or something, because I would like to keep track of the progress that all of us are making in terms of our walking. And there are so many benefits to that we'll talk about in a second. One of the other things that we're going to try to do for you, kind of coming back to the 5-element cycle to wellness page, is each Friday, we're going to post for you guys, and it'll come from all of us, but some inspiration, information, or insights from your leadership team. It might be an old quote from Dr. Chen, or something that came out of the original teachings of Dean Black, or some other things that we're all reading and participating in to try to gain more knowledge on these topics that we want to be able to share with each of you. So again, please keep on checking back there. The other thing we're going to try to do for you over the next couple of months is provide some other short designated training topics. For instance, one of the things that started me over the last couple of years on my journey, towards health and wellness, was Dolphin going through your spring cleanse with you. Again, we'll be doing a separate call about the spring cleanse coming up here, maybe the 1st of April. We'll have to confirm those dates for you, but they'll be coming up. The other topic we're going to bring up into this thing is spring cleaning of our home and our environment. We're also going to talk to you about allergies, one of Wendy's favorite topics. So we'll be doing more on allergies for you guys. And we may come up with a couple of other key topics that we'll share with you during the season as well. So if you guys that are watching this have any ideas or things that you'd like to hear about that are related to spring, wood element, let us know. We'll see what we can do to get them in the program for you. Coming back to walking, I don't want to spend a lot of time here. We discussed it already. We are going to start doing walking again. I've got a lot of posts over the next few days that you'll be seeing from me about the benefits of walking, some things that are just critical. So again, the idea is it's springtime, the weather's getting better, even up there in the wilds of Canada. So we can all get out and get moving. And again, it's so important for so many reasons to get our bodies moving and going again. So this is something we'll be promoting a lot. I did want to take just a second and just cover quickly what's going on in Sunrider. Most of you guys are aware of this already, but hey, this is a great time to be considering Sunrider. Our cost of entry to start this business is $29.95 in the US, $39.95 in Canada. Where else can you start a business for that kind of an investment? Sunrider is allowing us all to sponsor internationally now without any problems. So again, I think everybody, each of us knows somebody living in a foreign country that might have a similar need for health, wellness, or beauty. Sunrider has chosen, again, as most of us know, to invest in a brand new 1 million+ square foot manufacturing facility in Texas. Sunrider continues to choose to manufacture in-house under the higher good manufacturing GMP standards, as well as all QC on all of the production. Have there been issues over the last number of months on availability? You betcha, okay, because of the move. But we are seeing more and more products being available each week as these things are happening. Sunrider's doing monthly promotions. I did want to mention to everybody here in the US and specifically, starting on March 1st, there were no more back orders, and there are quantity restrictions based on key products that are in limited supply. The company's done this for main reason is we were never going to catch up unless we stopped with the back orders, and the quantity restrictions are the same way. So again, as much as I know that's been a benefit to a lot of us over the last couple of months, let's all be very patient and be fair to everybody. No more back orders, only order what you really need that you're seeing available, which I think was referenced before. If you're looking at the shop online page, go to featured products. That's something that we can see. All of those products are currently available for sale. They are updated all the time, so keep checking back. Now, again, is this the right time to be looking at this business? You betcha. You don't have to go very far in terms of turning on the news or reading in magazines or newspaper or hearing in the radio about layoffs that are going on. People are being downsized, hours are being reduced. People are looking for opportunities. So really the question I ask myself every day is, how many people do I know that I can help with their health, their wellness, or their income? This is the right time. This industry, the beauty and the wellness industry, is a $6 trillion worldwide industry. So if you ever questioned if you're in the right place at the right time, we are. And as most of us know, there's 3 ways to join Sunrider, either as a retail customer, a preferred customer, or join us in this business as an IBO. Lastly, I just want to kind of just thank everybody for joining us here on the call today. We love sharing with you all this information. We hope that there's benefit that each of you have received. And again, we hope that you'll all join us to the private Facebook group page and working with your upline and your mentors to really celebrate this season of spring. Panel, I can't thank you guys enough. Wendy, Tim, Dolphin, Judy, Lisa, you guys are incredible. Just thank you so much for sharing. Any last comments for everybody before we shut the call down today?
I just want to say, remember to eat apples as well, because apples will help the gallbladder, and as well as the vinegar mentioned. And there was a reason your mother or grandmother, or for some of the young ones, maybe your great grandmother, said to eat your greens. So we think of dandelion root, a fabulous product in Sunrider, but we can also purchase dandelion greens in some of the grocery stores. And let's start adding the greens. We have the highest quality root that we can take in capsule form. It's even an alpha 20C, but let's add those greens, and we'll be surprised what it does for us.
Excellent. So Judy, that means all of those dandelion spots, things that are coming up in my backyard now, I should be picking them for my salad, right?
Well, I'll leave that up to you.
I'm just teasing. Dolphin and I have laughed about that one before. I think last spring we were joking a little bit about that too. Any other comments? Anybody else? Going once, going twice. Hey, everybody, thank you so much. Thank you, panel, for sharing the way you do. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And please reach out to your upline, reach out to the person that sent you this if you want to learn more about Sunrider and how we can all be working together towards having the healthiest spring possible. Thank you, everybody. 2 seconds.